Hello world, it's time for another coffee break coding. I'm Joe Strout, I love programming, and I'm here to share that with you. Today I'm going to do something in the Try It interface on the web at miniscript.org because next month we're going to actually have the first annual Try It contest, so I thought it might be useful to show a little bit about how you can create programs right here in your web browser. And the thing that we're going to do today is simulate a deck of cards, because that's a generally useful thing to do. You can make a lot of different games with a deck of cards, right? So let's dive right in. First, let's see if we can iterate over the suits of a deck of cards. Now, the suits and cards are clubs, spades, diamonds, and hearts. Those each start with a different letter, so we can just do something like for suit in clubs, spades, diamonds, and hearts, CSDH, print the suit, and 4, and we should see that we can actually iterate over a string, getting each letter of the string in turn, and we can use those to represent our 4 suits. And then of course every card in a deck has a number as well, or it's a face card, but we'll call it num for num in, and then we just list out all the different values a card can have. So ace, 2 through 9, jack, queen, king, and then we'll print out, let's say, the number plus the suit, and try that. And so now here's our different cards, from ace of clubs, 2 of clubs, 3 of clubs, all the way down to king of hearts. Now if we want to manipulate these as if we have a deck of cards, we want to use a list. And in fact, I'm going to define 2 lists. I'll define a draw deck, which is the deck of cards that we're drawing from, and then I'll also prepare for a discards pile. And each of these is going to start out as an empty list, just square bracket, square bracket. Then we can push things onto that list. So we're going to say in our loop here, draw deck dot push, number plus suit, and 4, and then let's print out our draw deck. This is going to be a big list, but let's see what it does. All right, and what it does, don't panic, because we got a very long output here, it moved the output field down below the source code field so that it could show more without scrolling. There's a scroll bar just out of view here, but I can use that to scroll over, and we can see that this is a list of all of the cards in our deck. Again, from ace of clubs all the way through king of hearts. So this deck is still in order. Let's see if we can shuffle it, just like you would shuffle a deck of cards. DrawDeck.shuffle. The list type in Miniscript has a built-in shuffle method. So if we do that and run again, then here again is our giant list of cards, but you can see they're now in random order. 3 of clubs, 3 of diamonds, 4 of clubs. Well, all right, we happen to get 4 clubs in a row. And then we get some hearts, some spades, and so on. Let's run it again. And here we get a different order, 5 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, 4 of hearts, and so on. Every time you run it, you'll get a different order of cards, because that's the whole point of shuffling. Now, instead of printing out the giant list with print draw deck, let's do something a little more like what you would actually do with cards, which is deal out 1 card at a time. You can pull the last element of a list out in Miniscript by using the pop method. So we'll print drawDeck.pop, and that'll pop off the last element of the list and return it to us. And actually, let's just do that a few times. And now, because the output is not very wide, the output field is back on the right, which is where I prefer it, so I'm happier now. And we got queen of clubs, 4 of hearts, ace of clubs, 8 of hearts. And if we were to run it again, we would get 4 different cards, because each time we're building our deck, shuffling it, and then drawing the top 4 cards. So far so good. Now, if you're doing most games, it's helpful to know the rank of a card. The rank is how high the value of the card is relative to other cards. And usually that's dependent only on the number or the face of the card and not the suit. So let's define a function that works that way. We'll say rank equals function of card. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to provide all of the ranks. In fact, I could just copy this as a string and then use the index of method to look up the first character of the card, which we can get as card 0. And now, to make this a little easier to test, let's make a draw method, which will draw a card by doing drawDeck.pop, just like we were doing down here. But now we're going to print the card and the rank, so we can see if it's doing the right thing. And so now after we shuffle our deck of cards, let's use a loop and draw, we'll just call our draw method. Okay, so let's see what it's done. 4 of clubs, it says that's rank 3. Counting in miniscript, as in most modern languages, starts at 0. So if we look at our list of ranks here, we have the ace is 0, then we get 1, 2, 3. Number 4 is rank 3, so that's correct. 6 of clubs would be rank 5, and so on. Here's a king of hearts, that would be our top rank, and that's rank 11. Now, that of course is correct if you want to treat aces as low, equivalent to a number 1. In some games are aces high, so you want ace to be the highest rank, and we can get that just by moving the a to the end of our string in the rank function. So now if we run, we should see, yep, here's an ace, it's rank 11 as the highest card. And a 2 is now rank 0, that's our lowest card. So we have a correct aces high ranking function. Now we just drew actually 11 cards here, because range 10 goes from 0 to 11, again, starting our counting from 0. What if we tried to draw all the way to 60? Well, the first 52 draws are just fine, but then you can see our deck runs out. Pop would return null at that point. It's considered rank 0, so basically you can see our deck has run out here. Let's make it so that as you draw cards, they go onto a discard pile, and when your draw deck is empty, we reshuffle the discards. We've already got our draw deck declared. We just need to we've already got our discards declared, so we just need to check if our draw deck is empty, and if so, shuffle in the discards. So let's say, if not draw deck, in other words, if the draw deck is empty, then what do we need to do? Well, we can do globals.drawDeck equals discards. The reason we have to use globals here is because we're assigning to draw deck, and all variables in miniscript are local by default. So unless you use the globals prefix, we would just be creating a new local variable called drawDeck, which is not what we want. We want to update this global variable. So globals.drawDeck equals discards, and then our globals.discards will be a new empty list. And finally, we can shuffle. And I don't need to say globals here, because when you're referencing a variable, if there isn't a local, it'll always find the global. So that's how we were able to reference drawDeck here and here without using the globals prefix. Oops, this is supposed to be drawDeck.shuffle. My mistake. And we can reference it here without a globals prefix because we're not assigning to it, we're just shuffling it. So if our draw deck is empty, we reassign all the discards to it, we assign an empty list to the discards, and we shuffle our draw deck. Now we can pop from the draw deck and print it out. So let's see what happens when we run doing more than 52 draws. That did not work. And then, of course, as we draw cards, we need to remember to push those onto the discards. So discards.push the card. Okay, now let's test again, doing more than 52 draws. And it looks like they're all good. And in fact, if we were to check some of these, like the ace of diamonds or the ace of hearts, we should find up here that they were drawn before. So we got up to 52, then we shuffled the discards back into the draw deck, and we kept drawing, and we got those again. So that is working correctly. Now let's make a little game out of it. I don't have time today to do a very complex game, so we're going to make a silly little game where each of two players draws a card and whoever gets the higher card wins. We'll make a function to play just one hand of such a game, so we'll call it play one hand. And we'll first draw my card. My card equals draw. Remember, when you're calling a method in Miniscript, you don't need any parentheses. You just name it, and that calls it. Print my card plus my card. And then we'll do the same for the other player. We'll call it your card. And now we have to figure out who won that draw. So we'll say if rank of my card is equal to rank of your card. And remember, in Miniscript, again, like in most languages, when you're comparing for equality, you use double equal signs. A single equal sign is used for assignment, like this and this. So if the rank of my card is equal to the rank of your card, then print it's a tie. Else, if the rank of my card is greater than the rank of your card, then that means I won. Else, there's only one other possibility. You win. Okay, so now after we shuffle our deck initially, let's get rid of that for loop and just call play one hand. Okay. So my card, your card, okay, I've made a mistake again. The cards are being printed by the draw method, by this line right here, inside draw. And then my card is actually empty because I forgot to have the draw method return anything. So we're going to say return card. So we draw our card, we print our card, we push our card onto the discards, and then we return it. Now when we test, we should see that it's printed by this line and also printed in the play one hand method. So ace of diamonds, rank 11, my card is ace of diamonds. 7 of diamonds is rank 5, your card is 7 of diamonds. So it's playing correctly, but I don't like it being printed twice, so I'm just going to delete this print out of the draw method. Now we're getting there. My card is 7 of clubs, your card is 4 of hearts. 7's higher than 4, so I win. And we could run it several times and get different results. But to wrap up today, let's put in a main loop that calls play one hand repeatedly until the user decides that they're done. So after shuffling our draw deck initially, we'll make a loop while true, which is technically going to make an infinite loop, but don't worry, we'll break out of it this time. So while true, play one hand, and then let's ask the user, yes, no equals input, play again. And then if whatever they entered is equal to a lowercase n or an uppercase n, then break. And the break command will break out of the while loop. Print a blank line, end our while loop, and there we go. And again, remember, when you're comparing for equality, always use double equal signs. So, my card 4 of hearts, your card ace of clubs, where ace is high, so you win. Play again, yes, no. I'll say Y for yes. My card 6 of spades, yours 2 of clubs, I win, and so on. And actually, we can just hit return here to play again, because if we enter anything other than an N, it'll just play again. I could enter, W, and it'll still play again. When I don't want to play anymore, I enter an N, and it'll exit. And let's add one more line to make it a little bit friendlier. Thanks for, I had fun. Smiley. So now we'll play a couple of times. You win, play again, yes. I win, play again, no. Thanks, I had fun. Which I did, and I hope you did too, and I hope you learned something. And I really hope that you'll consider joining the Try It contest next month. It's going to be a lot of fun. Till then, happy coding.